for St. Peter ad Vincula, which is Latin for St. Peter in chains. Now, the defensive systems here at the Tower of London are many. We're studying one right now. This is the moat or the ditch. It would have been 30 feet deeper than it is today and twice as wide. And all along the outside of it would have had guard houses like this one. And they'd have all had 30 to 40 soldiers in it. Each one would have a drawbridge, a set of gates, a Norman drop gate, a causeway. You would fight your way through each one. You'd then get to this one here. This one's called the Middle Tower, because it once stood in the middle of the moat, which gives you an idea of how much wider the moat would have been. Now, we keep things very simple here at the Tower of London. We have to. We have lots of members of the army working here, so we have to keep it very simple for those people. Called the Middle Tower because it once stood in the middle of the moat. Simple as that. You fight your way through all of them, you get to the Bywood Tower. Now, the Bywood Tower gets its name from by the word or by the ward. It's because it's here every single night. A secret password is required for anybody who wishes to enter the Tower of London after midnight. Who wants to know what today's secret password is?
Yeah.
No, it's a secret! Password one lowercase, but don't tell anybody. Right, we're about to move on, but before we do we have any questions? No good? Let's go.
They're part of the group, aren't they? I know this. I can put this on YouTube as well.
Question? Where do you live in the wall?
So some of my colleagues live here. I live on the inner side, on the inside of the so most of them live on the outer walls here. I live on the inner wall, by the hospital block, by the cafe. Okay. You're not going to rob me, are you? You're the one that house in. Yeah. Nothing sacred anymore. Right, here we are, ladies. We're now in the outer ward of the Tower of London. We are stood between the outer and inner ballium or defensive walls. That wall we just come through is 28 feet thick. Hey, sweetie, how are you? One of my colleagues' wives and daughter. So, 28 feet thick, that wall we've just come through. And then here, this one is 50 feet high. To my front is Mint Street, so named because up until the year 1810, all the coins of the realm were designed and produced on this one street. This one street continues round on the other two sides that we can't see, and so do the buildings. As I've just said to that gentleman there, most of my colleagues live in these walls here today. That's why we call them casemates, which loosely translated is a dwelling within a wall. It's as simple as that. But back in the olden days, the Royal Mint was here. Every single building, storage, the design or the production of the coins of the realm were in this wall here. The only one today that has anything to do with the Royal Mint is this double-storey one behind you there. That today is where the Towers Mint exhibition is. But before, back in the olden days, that's where a man with a really important title used to live. He was known as the Master of the Mint. What a great title that is. Now, one of those was a very important man in his own right, a man by the name of Sir Isaac Newton. You may have heard of him, yes? He's the man that invented gravity. Very British invention, I'm sure you'll agree. We use on a daily basis. Years ago, we were allowed to be proud of things like that. Now we're not, because people get upset and offended and throw statues in the rivers, because that really changes history, doesn't it? But we don't do politics here. We just cut people's heads off. It's a lot easier. With a nervous titter there from some people. Where's he going with you? And so we don't do politics. In the olden days, our coins were gold or silver, or a soft alloy of the two. And what we were finding is, you lot, you common people, what you would do is you'd cut the edges off those coins, melt them down and make your own currency, which is actually called coin clipping, and it is illegal. So stop it! He got his team together in an upstairs room. He said, look, he said, I'm an intelligent chap. He said, I can stop people falling off the planet. He said, I'm sure I can stop this crime from happening. He said, why don't we just put grooves into the edges of the coins? He said, it won't stop them from doing it, but it will make that coin instantly recognisable when it's been clipped, making it worthless. To this day, we still put grooves into the edges of our coins. Mainly for wear and tear, but also for a little bit of tradition. You may have noticed we quite like tradition here. It kind of works for us. Right, behind me is the bell tower. Anybody want to hazard a guess what's called the bell tower?
There's a bell. There's a bell in it.
Yes, thank you very much, you two. You are now officially the cleverest two people in this whole group. But to be honest, you're looking around, that's not much of an achievement. Yes, there's a bell in it. I told you we keep things very simply because in the army, that bell is sounded twice a day. Once at the end of the day, to remind all you lovely people that it's time to go home. And then again, at 9 o'clock in the evening, to remind everybody outside the tower that they've got 1 hour to get back in before we're locking them out for the night. This is the strongest of the 13 towers on the inner wall. It stands on a solid base of masonry, 30 feet deep, 20 feet below ground and 10 feet above. Because of its proximity to the main entrance, this tower is made up of just 2 chambers. And again, for defensive purposes, they're not connected. Access to the lower chamber is via the King's house, which is behind that wall there. Access to the upper chamber or strong room is via the Queen's walkway, which is that one up there. Some very famous people have been held prisoner in these 2 chambers. The man for all seasons, Sir Thomas More, was held prisoner in here. At the same time, and for the same reason, John Fisher, the Bishop of Rochester, was held in the upper strong room. You may be aware that both these men would have suffered terribly for their religious beliefs before being taken up onto Tower Hill, where they were both publicly executed. A very dark period in our history, I'm sure you will agree. Now, after their execution, Henry was scared to death these men would become martyrs. So he had both sets of remains moved into the tower and buried in the Chapel Royal. And that is where they lay to this day, which is quite a controversial subject right now, because they, in 1935, both those remains were canonised as saints in the Roman Catholic faith. And the reason it's controversial is because they're 2 Roman Catholic saints buried in our church. Our church now is Church of England. Fortunately for me, that's way above my pay grade to have to worry about it. So, I just deal with you lot on a daily basis. What could be harder than that? Right, you may have noticed there's not much humour here at the Tower of London. So I've been working on this joke now for a couple of weeks. But I understand comedy and humour is all about timing. That's right. So, very soon we're going to be going around the corner where we're going to be talking more death and destruction. But before we do, let's be heading off. Don't get any better than that, guys. That's about as good as it gets.